Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, good night, good everything. My name is Jason Weiss. I am the host of the Ask Jason Weiss show here on the streamingnetwork.com. And as most of you that have listened in the past know, I am an attorney. However, nothing I say today constitutes legal advice or financial advice or any advice. If you need any legal advice, financial advice, or any advice, consult an attorney directly. Nothing I say today is covered by the attorney-client privilege. You have not retained me. If you want to, you can go ahead and contact me, and I'd be happy to talk. But short of that, I am not your lawyer for today. Now, today, I am very excited to have with me Damon, who is a two-time best-selling author and the host of the Learn It All podcast and the CEO of Learnit, which I would tell you what it is, but I'm not going to do justice to it, so I'm going to allow him to do it. Damon was a baseball player in college, so he can see things through a business owner's perspective, an athlete's perspective, a dad's perspective, and a human's perspective. And he has helped this company Learnit just grow tremendously. Damon and I have one or two mutual friends. That's how we got connected. I took an instant liking to him, and I've been bugging him for a while to, please be on my show. So here we are. Without further ado, here is Damon, and let's start real quick. Let's go backwards in time. Where did you go to college, and where did you play baseball?
Well, Jason, first of all, it's an honor to be here. Thanks for the great bio, and a shout out to my buddy Tom Felice for connecting us. And the feeling's mutual. As soon as you and I jumped on a call, I knew I liked you. We had a great connection, and you're one of those guys I could talk to all the time. So thanks for having me here today to start with.
My pleasure. All right, so let's jump into the meat and potatoes, because this answer I don't know. I could probably find a Wikipedia page or Google it, but where did you play college baseball?
So I started out originally at Pepperdine University, but right before that, I was a high school All-American, and I had a big choice. Do I go professional or do I go to the college route? And my parents were really cool. They're like, hey, you are the one who put in the work to get here. We'll support whatever direction you want to go. And I chose Pepperdine. I had a full ride. And it was really my first real lesson on leadership. And it was because I bought into the coach, Andy Lopez, who's a Hall of Fame baseball coach. His vision was, hey, Pepperdine's a small school, 2,500 people. We're going up against ASU, all these massive schools, LSU. But if we get everybody aligned, we work together, we are going to win the College World Series. And so I bought into that vision. A lot of other people did. They probably thought we were crazy. Unfortunately, it's a long story, but I got hurt. I ended up leaving. Sure enough, Jason, they won the College World Series that year, which is amazing. So good for Coach Lopez. Him and I are still in touch. And I ended up playing at Arizona State University, which was an amazing experience for me. My wife likes to say it's my glory days. I hit a home run in the College World Series all the way back in 1994. And when my baseball career at Arizona State ended, I thought I was going to get drafted again. That didn't work out. I was shocked, and I was left with the dilemma at 22 years old. What do I do now?
So I want to go back to one of the things that you said, and it's very unfortunate, but it's in the past that you did get hurt and you decided to leave Pepperdine. I have a son who is a college athlete. He's going to be playing D3 lacrosse and doing all of that. But I guess the question I have is, a lot of people say when you're making a decision, especially around sports and to go play in college, if you were to get hurt, if you were to not be able to play on the team, if the team got eliminated for the school, would you still want to go there? So I guess, and it's 17 or 18, I'm sure you didn't know that about Pepperdine, but was Pepperdine a place, and we'll get rid of the scholarship and the money part of it, because I'm sure that played a factor, but is that a place that you think, like when you were, I want to play baseball in Pepperdine, I could win, did it ever cross your mind, well, what would happen if I no longer wanted to play baseball? Would I still want to be at Pepperdine?
That's a great question. And the answer is no. And that's part of the reason why I left. Now, don't get me wrong, Pepperdine is beautiful. It's on the ocean, it's in Malibu. But I really wanted the college experience. I wanted it was a pretty rigid school, pretty religious school, which is fine. But it really wasn't my thing. So when I got hurt, I could have stayed, but I wanted to go and really experience college. And that's why I made my way to Arizona State, which is 180 degrees different than Pepperdine.
So I can tell you this, my son has been looking primarily at small schools. And like I said, he's going to go to a smaller D3 school. By definition, it's smaller. But we went up on Thanksgiving to see the Florida State game, which is one of the most heated rivalries out there. I mean, Yankees, Red Sox, and Lakers, Celtics, and, Gators, Florida State Seminoles. That's huge, right? And he was walking around campus like with his eyes like, oh my God, this place is so big. And oh my God, this is the college experience. And there were more people tailgating in the parking lot than, some of these D3 schools. And he was like, wow. And I'm like, well, that's what I had. I went to the University of Florida. I had that college experience. And I could see him and some of his friends, because there were 9 other boys with him, all like, wow, this is neat. And it just echoes with what you said. You went to ASU and you got that college experience. So I guess the silver lining is you got to live both worlds, right? You got to play baseball. You got to be with that. You got to go to Pepperdine. You got to experience the college atmosphere, small and big, and you got the best of both worlds. So kudos. I mean, that's it. And I hope my son is either watching or will rewatch this so that he can know, as well as all of his friends, because they're all athletes. They all wake up and they train and they run and they do, and it's all academics and athletics for these kids, these days. So
now, here's my take on that, Jason, because I get asked this all the time with my friends who have kids who are maybe in high school and could potentially play in college. And they ask for my advice, whether it's lacrosse, baseball, swimming, whatever. Here's what I say. How much do you love playing the sport? Because if you love playing lacrosse or you love playing baseball, but you go to an Arizona State and you're going to be a bench warmer, then, I would go to a small school where you can get in and play. So, and if you're not loving the sport, then go to a bigger school or go to a school you want to, because it is very difficult to be a college athlete. It takes a lot of discipline. As much work as you have to put in the classroom, you have to also put in on the playing field. So it's a big commitment, and it's something that the parents should talk a lot about with the kids before they make that decision to go into what college they select.
Right. And I was having the discussion with my son also about, club programs, as opposed to, that program, that you could still make what you want from a club program, right? You could be the best player in the league, having to do with club, and you could get some looks from, these schools, the Princetons and the Dukes and, all the others. So it's not like you say, I'm going to go play club, I'm giving up on my D1 aspirations. No, it's kind of like, I'm going to go play club, and that will get me possibly back into the D1 consideration. But you can also do that on the D3 level. He's going to go play D3. Maybe he goes to the school, loves it, wants to be there for 5 years, for grad school as well. Maybe after one semester, he doesn't love it. Who knows? So you got to keep all your options open. And the other thing is, finances play a huge part, right? One of the lessons that I'm trying to teach my son and some of his colleagues and friends is, look, Florida has a wonderful program for all state schools. You could do Florida prepaid. Any state school, you can go in the state of Florida. My son can go literally for free. My daughter can go for free because I went ahead and paid for it. So I got them locked in at prices from 2006 and 2009. They're fully paid, and then go to any of the state schools. Free, zero. And my son would get a scholarship also for his grades and his SAT scores. So he could literally walk out of a state school with, I don't know, 30 grand in his pocket. The flip side is they don't have the competitive lacrosse. So he's going to go play competitive lacrosse. And then the question becomes, how much aid do we get? And
Yeah. And now you're out of pocket 30, 40 grand a year.
and you know what, I come out of pocket 30, 40 grand a year. I can't afford to spend, you know, what some of these schools are. So he's going to, you know, graduate from college with, I don't know, 120, $160,000 in debt. Like, I graduated law school with 90 grand in debt. It took me, you know, a long time to pay that back, but I couldn't see graduating college with that kind of debt. I mean, we know people, you and I collectively, that, you know, they're professionals, they're older than us, they're still paying back their college loans.
Well, it makes you kind of wonder about the system in general, like how impactful is college? And I'm by no means saying don't go to college, but some of my most successful friends, and I'm sure it's the same as with you, is they went to state schools. And a lot of times, and there's also nothing wrong with starting off at a junior college, getting that out of the way and moving on. So I don't think that we need to have the traditional thinking that you have to try to shoot for one of these Ivy League private schools if your long-term goal is to be successful in the business world or something else. Because I know a lot of individuals who went to Chico State, you know, who went to small schools and have been incredibly successful. I think it's all what you do with that experience.
And I will say this, I two of the most financially successful people I know and work with on a daily basis, one of them didn't even get his GED, and the second one only graduated from high school. Because what did they do? They tell me all the time, and they use this expression, they're on the other side of the desk. I'm like, well, what does that mean? They say, we come to you as the professional to help us. We're out there grinding, we're doing, we're seeing, we're men of the streets, we're doing all this. Like, we're out there doing it. And yeah, big risk, big reward. You know, we don't get to sit in a cushy office, you know, and do that. And I said, I get it. I see it. Now, if my son's listening, you must go to college, right?
Yeah.
What college you go to.
My kids too, by the
Yeah.
way, they're probably listening. So yeah.
Yes. He must go to college. My daughter must go to college. Where you go, what you do, how you study, and how we pay for it is all open for discussion. But you must go to college. And I tell people all the time, you know, look, if you're going to go to law school to be a lawyer, don't. If you're going to go to law school to learn how to think and write and analyze, then do it. Which brings me to my selfless plug of, you know, shit they never taught you in law school, still on sale, still a bestseller. Go ahead, check it out on Amazon and get it. So there's my one shameless plug. Thank you. So let's get back to you. Graduate from ASU, got your degree, and the world is your oyster. So what's next? What do you do?
Well, I didn't look at it like the world is my oyster. You know, I put all my eggs in one basket, and that was to be a professional baseball player, right? So I got my degree in baseball. I mean, not really, but that, you know, that's what all my dreams were set to. So here I am, finishing up the College World Series. I hit a home run, like I said. 15 guys on my team got drafted, and I didn't. So I went through a pretty depressing period. Like, what's next for me? You know, my identity was a baseball player. I was very fortunate. I came from a family with several businesses, real estate, hotels, but I was pretty intimidated. You know, I never had a job. Baseball was my job. So I started at Learnit, which was as a receptionist, which was a computer training company back at the time that my dad, like a great, all great entrepreneurs, he founded to solve his own problem, which was how to learn how to use computers to digitize our real estate. So I started at Learnit on the ground floor back in June of 95. So we're coming up on our 30th anniversary. And I rolled up my sleeves, and I did that for two reasons. One, I was intimidated to go into the real estate world. And number two, I wanted to show everybody else at Learnit, the 20, 30 people that were working there at the time, that I wasn't this kid with a silver spoon in my mouth that my daddy put me up in a C-level position with a fancy parking spot or whatever. I wanted to grind it out and really learn and earn my keep at Learnit.
And it's funny because I'm rewatching Better Call Saul for the third time now.
Great show.
And both Wexler and Slippin' Jimmy, you know, they both started in the mailroom, or they both started as a paralegal, and they worked while they were in school. And, you know, Slippin' Jimmy, he didn't even get a job offered from his brother. So, you know, that's what it was. But, you know, my philosophy is the same, right? I have my hands in a couple of different businesses, and I'm legal counsel and all this. And one of the things I want to do is, you know, pave the road for my son and my daughter to both have jobs after. But again, like you, I don't want them coming in and being, hey, the lawyer's son and all this. No. Like the lawyer's son, he needs to be on the phones. He needs to do the calls. He needs to be out there. The lawyer's daughter, all right, maybe I'll give her a little bit more preferential treatment, but same thing, right? I tell my kids this all the time. Earn it. We earn it. And I say that to my clients. I want to earn my Ferrari. I want to earn my my NetJets membership. I want to earn everything. And that's what it's all about, earning it. And I love how you learned and you earned. So you're at Learnit, you're answering phones. How can I help you? And what's next?
Well, first of all, is there any better name than Slipping Jimmy? I mean,
No,
come on.
no.
I mean, come on. How do you get any better than that? No wonder why his brother or cousin didn't give him a job. I mean, that's the best. So yeah. Anyways, I answered thousands of calls at the front desk over a couple of years, and really, what I kind of saw early on though was coming from a sports environment. Everybody was competitive. You wanted to win. You wanted to work hard. You showed up on time. And I didn't really see that, to be totally honest, in the business world. People would kind of mosey in, we'd lose deals. People are like, it's okay. And I didn't really want to stand for that. I'm like, my family's investing in this company. I want to lead, even if it's from the front desk. And so I learned computers. I mean, this was back in 1995 where it was still DOS, and Windows 3.1.
Yeah.
So I got out of my comfort zone. I learned how to teach classes. I thought, hey, I could help out. I could, teach Word or Excel or ACT, which is the CRM back then.
Mm-hmm.
I started cold calling, doing sales, and kind of worked my way up. We won a big deal with the Gap, which kind of put us on the map, as far as being a partner in the Bay Area for computer training. And about 4 or 5 years into it, right around the turn of 1999, 2000, the CEO wasn't working out, wasn't really engaged. Our board was looking for a new CEO. I threw my hat in the ring and I said, hey, look, I've answered more phones than anybody else. I've closed some of our biggest deals. And just like you said, I worked every aspect of the business. So I had empathy for teachers. I had empathy for IT. Give me an opportunity and let me show you that I could lead Learnit. And my dad was like, hey, what, kid, go for it. So he put me in there. And Jason, I just happened to be fortunate enough living in San Francisco during the .com days where I was like 26 years old. I'm like, I'm a genius. This is so easy. And I kind of took that for granted. And as we all know, around shortly after that, the whole market crashed, especially in San Francisco. And so that was a very tough learning lesson. Very fortunate to have a great family who is supportive of Learnit. And like my dad liked to say, hey, kid, you got the most expensive MBA of anybody I've ever known, the MBA of hard knocks, because he helped support us financially through that downturn. But it was an incredible learning lesson, and we made it through, and we've been here ever since.
And you're rocking and rolling. That's what it is, right? It's I have a friend who's on the show once before, Mark Noodleberg, and he and I sat and we had lunch one time, and he said to me, and I'm going to paraphrase it, but it was basically, you only learn from your failures. You learn when you get knocked down. If everything's going smooth sailing, you don't learn anything. But when you hit that speed bump or you trip and fall and you get up, that's where you learn. And it sounded like that .com and everything that happened in San Francisco and the whole world, that was our learning curve. That was how, we learned. I watched something this morning because college admissions are rolling for certain schools and applications and decisions are coming out today for some of the Florida schools and all this. And there was something on there that said, like, we all learned from COVID, right? The whole world shut down. And some of these kids, they didn't have high school stuff. They didn't have, experiences. They couldn't get into clubs. They couldn't do extracurricular activities. The whole world got shut down and these kids missed out. And, go to college, go get a job, do something that, you're passionate about. Find that passion, explore, take an extra year to see what's going on. Learn it, right? I mean, that's what it's all about. The other thing I love is when I bring new members into the team, I make them learn. I don't care if you're more senior than me or if you're right out of law school or right out of college or still in high school, right? I know how to collect and take out the garbage. I know how to file pleadings in the court. I know where the dumpster is. I know how to, use a toilet brush and scrubber after myself. I know how to, lock a door. I know how to set the alarm, and I expect everybody that's part of my team to do the same, right? There's been tons of times where I've taken out the garbage because the cleaning crew didn't come. So what are you going to do? Walk into the office? Oh my God, it stinks, and go and shut the door? No. Oh my God, it stinks in here. Tie up the garbage, take it to the dumpster, send off an email to the cleaning company saying, hey, you didn't clean, and get your work done. And that's what it is. It's all hands on deck. And I love the fact that you started by answering phones, and here you are now, the CEO of the company. I love it. I mean, it shows everybody who's listening. So your kids and my kids and 17,000 other people.
Right.
You start at the bottom, you work your way up. And that's the only way to do it in life.
Well, I want to take it back a little bit. When you said you only learn from failures, I don't really think it's an absolute failure. It's not a failure unless you give up. If you quit, then that's a failure. But if you learn from it, that is something that will fuel your growth for the future. And I couldn't agree more with you that if you want to be a great leader, you got to model the behavior. You got to have integrity. You got to lead the way that you want other people to behave. And I remember a story, Jason. We used to do room rentals, like where companies would rent classrooms and they get all these, donuts and stuff. And at the end of the day, it would all go back into our snack room. And the room was a mess. And so I was back there, kind of cleaning up, helping out, leading by example, right? Because why should somebody else? Why should just the receptionist have to do it? I remember, I won't say his name, but the salesperson was kind of standing by the door, and somebody said, hey, so-and-so, why don't you come help out? And he's like, that's not my job. And he walked away and left. That guy, that's one of the main reasons why that guy 3 months later was on the unemployment line, right? Because that saying, that's not my job, is BS. That's not, if you want to be a great leader, and leadership isn't just about leading teams. You could be a dad. It's about self-leadership, but having that type of attitude Learnit wouldn't be around today if that's the kind of culture we had. That's not my job, right? Because I want people who are bought in, and hopefully they look at me as an example, like, hey, I'm never too good where I can't roll up my sleeves and do the work too. But I'm going to expect that of other people. Have other people's backs. Don't just say, hey, that's not my job, and leave it to somebody who's making a third of what you're making do the labor for you.
Right. So speaking about people having our backs, we have great sponsors for this show. We're going to go into a quick 30-second commercial so that we can thank them for having our back and allowing us on this platform. And I want to get back into that. And I agree with you. It's not a failure. That was the wrong word. Poor choice of words by me. Diversity, problems, just anything out of the norm, something to take a wind out of the sail a little bit and then go. So you're spot on. I learned from you. So thank you so much. And we're going to run for a quick 30-second commercial to thank our sponsors, and we'll be right back. We are back as promised. I am Jason Weiss. I am still your host of the Ask Jason Weiss show. I am still plugging my book, Shit They Never Taught You in Law School. It's a bestseller. Go get it on Amazon. It'd be a great Christmas gift for family, friends, and anybody thinking about law school, or anybody who is a practicing lawyer and just is at wit's end, or anybody in the business world. There's lots of business points in there. I will say this: just because you're smart enough to listen to this show doesn't mean that you've hired me to be your attorney, because nothing here is legal advice. There is no attorney-client privilege. Should you seek financial or legal advice, consult an attorney directly.
So Jason, I just wanted to say that I bought a copy of that for your book for my 7-year-old daughter, because it's the only way I can get away with saying shit in front of her is by having her look at the title of your book. So thank you for that.
And my 15-year-old daughter, she'll be embarrassed. She doesn't like that word at all. So she'll say stuff, or she'll say money sign hit, because that's just who she is. But hey, one of
What are
these
you going to
days
do?
she'll finally say, Dad, you've written so many books about shit that I now have to say it. Yes. I'm working on more shit. So it's all good. So we were talking about, so tell us a little bit about, because you mentioned it, that you're the CEO of Learnit. Tell the listeners a little bit about what Learnit is. Piecing together, it has to do with technology and teaching and computers and baseball and all the good stuff. But no, let the viewer tell the viewers what is Learnit.
So Learnit has morphed from being just a computer training company. That's what we were back in the old days, to now we're called a live learning platform. And we've helped upskill over 2 million people over the past 3 decades. And we really focus on, I would say, soft skills. And I hate that word, soft skills. Maybe we'll call them human skills. We help people become new leaders, right? You get transitioned from an individual contributor, you're promoted into new leader. You need a whole new skill set, whether it's learning how to have difficult conversations, communicate better, lead coaching sessions. So that's really what we do. We're all B2B. We pivoted from in-person training during COVID, where we used to be, prior to COVID, we were about 85% in person, 50% virtual. With COVID, we're about 90% virtual now, 10% in person. And we really work with companies as their outsourced learning and development team to help design programs, to help upskill their team, build learning cultures, and help companies thrive in the future through the power of learning.
So let me ask you, and this is kind of on topic, but kind of off topic. Do you think that the people that enroll and are part of the program, that they get more from doing it virtually from the comfort of their home or their office, or do you think they got a little bit something extra by being in person?
That's a great question. And I think it depends on who the individual is. And I think we all learn differently. So, for instance, I love live training, right? So, if you told me to sit down and watch a on-demand video for 3 hours, forget it. It'll last like 2 minutes. That's what my attention span is. I want engagement. I like coaching. I like training. Some people learn. I was surprised, right? At first, a lot of our customers were like, well, there's no way we can learn emotional intelligence virtually. It has to be in person. But really early on in COVID, people realized we weren't going back to the old ways. So they had to try it. And what they found out was that the virtual opportunities, it still offered the connection and the engagement and the breakout rooms. And a lot of times it gave them access to other people in their organization that they would never have access to, senior leaders who were in Florida taking classes with people in San Francisco. So I think we've put in a lot of work and effort to make sure that the opportunities to learn virtually are as on par with in person. Now, don't get me wrong. Learnit is a remote first company, but as somebody who's a commercial real estate owner, I would love to see people in person more often, because I think that there is no replacement at the end of the day for collaboration and in-person collaboration. So there's benefits of both. I think virtual learning is fantastic, especially when you add in things like we're doing now with AI habit coaches and things that ping people. But I'm also a big fan of in-person work.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. I mean, look, if you're look, when I go to CLEs and they're in person, I mean, what are we doing? We have our laptop open, we're doing other work, we're doing other things. But if I'm here and I'm at a, something and an email pops up, I'm checking it anyway. So I think the important thing is just close out, your Outlook, close out your email, put on a do not disturb for a little while and try it, both ways and see what works. I know that's what distracts me, right? It doesn't matter the setting for me. I have to close my Outlook. Otherwise, every time I hear that ding, I gotta look, or my phone, I hear that bing, I gotta leave it in the other room. It's very, very distracting. And I think that's part of the problem in general with technology, right? We're all connected every second of every day. Like I was on a podcast last night and I got a New York Yankees update that, there was a trade with another, with the Red Sox for, minor league players and international pool money. But all of a sudden in the middle of it, it was, and I had to look, what's going on. That was important in the moment. No, but it is what it is. So you also host a podcast. Hint, hint, wink, wink. I haven't been on it yet. Tell us a little bit about that podcast. So when I hear that it's right in my sweet spot, I can bust your chops a little bit about why haven't I been on it yet?
Because you're such a big time guy, it's hard to nail you down for a recording date. 100% you have to be on my podcast. It's called the Learn It All podcast. And really what we do is we bring in business leaders, athletes, creatives, and get to learn their story and about their successes and failures. I love interviewing people who are humble and are vulnerable enough to share what's worked, what hasn't worked for them, to provide practical advice to our listeners so they realize that, hey, this person is somebody just like me. I can aspire to be like them and learn from others who are in a position that you want to get yourself to in the future. I love it. I absolutely love doing the podcasting because I'm a big reader and I have all these books, and now I'm reaching out to these authors. I'm reading their books, a lot of them. They're not all authors, but I'm reading their books. And then I get a 1-hour opportunity to get really curious and learn directly from them about their books. And then what I think is super important is you take what you learn on a podcast or wherever, and then you apply it, because learning without doing, I believe, is treason. So take what you learn from this podcast, take what you learn from my podcast, the practical advice and tips from the Learn It All podcast, and then implement it in your daily life.
And where can they find that? On YouTube or Apple? Where?
Yeah, fortunately on YouTube, we have 850,000 subscribers. So that's fantastic. But we're on YouTube. We put out 3 or 4 episodes a week, and we're on Apple and Spotify. I'm a big Spotify fan for my music listening. So find us there, Apple, YouTube, anywhere.
I know I pay for a Spotify account. That's all I know about Spotify because my kids love it. So, but I know I pay for it. So one of the things that you mentioned that I quickly jotted down, you talk about habit learning or habit AI. That sounds neat. I don't know what it is. I can guess, but I would love to hear was it habit learning or habit AI?
Well, I was AI habit coach.
Okay.
So let's say you go through a class on feedback and we're giving you advice on, everybody talks about giving feedback. Let's talk about receiving feedback. So let's say you do a class and you learn a little bit about how do you better receive feedback. Don't get defensive, your body language, take notes. And then the habit coach would be something where you log into your platform and it will give you advice and tips like, have you tried this lately? What have you done differently? And you populate it with a prompt and say, hey, this is what happened for me. And it asks you more questions and it will give you follow-up. And so at the end of the day, we all know that you can't just go in and take a 2-hour class on giving and receiving feedback or difficult conversations or even Microsoft Excel and expect to retain everything. It's all about practice, implementation, and trying other things. And so that's what we're exploring with a lot, is how do we leverage AI and this new technology to help our learners become more sticky with the learning that takes place at Learnit.
There's this up and coming company called OneWave AI that I would strongly recommend you check out. Those guys seem to know.
Who do you think's building it all for us? OneWave.
Yeah.
Gabe and Luke and all those guys. I mean, they're absolutely phenomenal, the work that they've done with us. And what I like about them too, to give them a plug, is that I've explored working with several other AI vendors and consultants, but they speak to you in layman's terms for somebody like me who's not super technical, to help me understand. Because what I don't care about the work that goes into building a prompt or whatever. I want to know what the end results are, the outcomes, and they speak to me in a language that me and my team can resonate with, which really, for all you leaders out there, helps with adoption. Because like anything else, you need to adopt AI in your organization, and it starts with senior leaders. So get a good partner like our friends there, like OneWave, and lead by example and start adopting AI. Great point.
It's one of the things, like, we're live, so I can make a reference point to yesterday. ChatGPT was down for a handful of hours, and
I didn't know what to do with myself.
a lot of people didn't know what to do with themselves. And there is another company out there that does what ChatGPT does. And I started using that platform as well because I was trying to, do some research and do all this for a podcast that I was going to be on. And that platform got overwhelmed. It said, we can't do with your request. So could you imagine, like all this AI? And I agree with you. AI is a tool, right? We're all carpenters in life. You can have power tools, you could have manual tools, you could have whatever you want. You could be like, Chuck, where the guy went in and he had to drill the hole by hand, but all of that. But at the end of the day, AI is a very, very important tool. You could use it to fact check, you could use it to enhance, you could use it to make better, you could use it as your outline and your starting point. What I do not recommend to anybody, especially lawyers, and especially students as well, don't just type it in and grab the AI and do it. Absolutely not. But if you want to use it as a tool, it's the same thing as using a thesaurus, which many younger listeners don't know what that is, but I still have an old dictionary and an old thesaurus. You open it up because I don't want to say the word awesome 4 times in a paragraph. I want to say awesome, amazing, unbeatable, so those are all synonyms, and ChatGPT can help you with that. So again, I agree that it is a valuable tool.
And what I'd say with that is, and I think this is very important, you got to find where the technology and the human, merge, right? Because you cannot. And I've have a friend who experienced this where they put out a blog, and they didn't fact check, one of the stats, and they got called on it, right? So you can't let it take you all the way to the finish line, but it's a great place to get you started and assist you. And there's just so much value in it, and you just have to get curious, play with different tools, learn. I've learned a lot from that other guy I mentioned, Tom Felice,
Yeah.
and Luke and Gabe and everybody, just getting in and using the tool. And that's why I think I'm so excited about Learnit, though, Jason, is because the tools that we teach, the skills that we teach at Learnit are critical for the future. And that's adaptability, creativity, innovation, communication, collaboration, because I don't think in our lifetime that AI is going to wipe that out. So sure, you're not going to, I mean, good luck if you're a computer science major and you need, and you want to learn Python. I mean, I don't know how much longer you're going to need to know how to do that, but you're going to need to know how to communicate, collaborate, and engage with humans and the technology. There's so much in there.
Yeah. And look, it's not, well, I don't think we're going to have a Terminator 2 situation on our hands. But at the same time, and I'm going to just go backwards. I think your views, your philosophies, your everything, and they're very aligned with mine. I think it all started with you playing baseball as a kid, right? I played team sports. I was a member of a team. I played, and I think that's where it is. You come together, you learn how to be a part of a team. You learn about caring for the organization or the team. You learn about caring for the wins. Yes, if you lost a game, you might not have been the guy in the dugout slamming your glove and screaming and yelling and crying and sobbing. But if you were the guy that was like, okay, we lost, no problem. I'm going to go on my phone now and play, Minecraft or something else, or go do whatever it is. Like that lets you know where your priorities are, right? It's okay, hey, we lost. That sucks. We should have won that game. Like, we could do better next time. Let's come up with a game plan for next time. Then, get on with your life. Don't dwell on it forever and ever and ever. And that's what Mark also taught me with he had a 24-hour rule. You're allowed to have 24 hours to kick yourself, to feel like crap, to be like, I wish, whatever. I wish my team would have won the World Series. I wish I would have caught that ball. I wish I would have ran faster. Okay. What are you going to do next time? I'm going to run out that ground ball. I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to read the stats better. Like, we learn. You get out and go.
There's nothing, in my opinion, and I talk a lot about that in my book, the Learn It All Leader. I don't think there's any replacement for an athletic education. And I'm not saying you need to play sports to my level, right? For all you parents out there who are listening in, all 17,000 of you, get your kids involved in sports. You really do, because you learn discipline, you learn collaboration. And you learn to persevere, because things don't always go the way you want to go. I mean, look at Juan Soto. I mean, he hits successfully, let's say 35% of the time if he's lucky, and the guy made $750 million, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's a 65%, if my ASU math works right, failure rate, right? So these are all things you learn from sports. And what I'd like to say too, though, I want to point it out, I think the most important skill out there in the future is learning agility, your ability to learn something, maybe, unlearn it and then do it again, right? And learn something different. In baseball, you go up to the plate, you strike out, you get some feedback. You got to put that behind you. You don't have 24 hours. You got to put that behind you. You take the feedback from your constructive feedback from your coach, you step up to the batter's box again, right? And don't be a victim about what happened last time. Get focused and hit a ball up the middle for a base hit or a home run, whatever it is.
And that's one of the things that we talk about in sports all the time, right? The best athletes have short-term memory. They forget about it. Now, look, if it's success and you're hitting the jump shot every single time from that one spot, or if you have a certain defender on you, remember that. But you got to have the short-term memory. Oh my God, I let the goal in. Oh my God, the ball went through my legs. Oh my God, I stood there for a strike three. Like, okay, move on, right? Next time you're prepared for that changeup, or you're prepared for that curveball, or that's what it's all about. And that's one of the things that I strive myself on, my PPP method: plan, prepare, and perform. You plan for things, you prepare for them, and you perform them. Go out and do them. And if the outcome isn't the way that you like, then go ahead and tweak it, right? You don't
learn
like
from it. Learn from it and try it again, right? That's what you do.
That's exactly it. Learn from it and try again. And that's one of the things. So,
but I want to add one thing to that,
sure.
right? And here's what I see, and it goes back to the victim mentality, right? Say you plan, prepare, you perform, and it doesn't go your way. Take ownership of it. Don't blame somebody else. Don't blame like, oh, this person on my team could have done this differently, or these people, technology didn't work. Take ownership of it. Reflect on what you could do differently next time. Because if you do that, that is what's going to fuel your growth, right? Don't be a victim. Nobody wants to be around a victim. Own up to it, learn, grow, get better next time.
I love that. I love that. So I can't believe we blew through almost the entire time of the show. And I know you've watched episodes in the past, so you're probably prepared for. I got the hardest question.
The hardest questions, right?
And all of this. So here's the hardest question. And because you're a baseball guy, I'm gonna focus on baseball. Does the signing of Juan Soto by the New York Mets, which drives me nuts because I'm a Yankees fan, do they win the World Series this year?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because I've never seen. Very rarely does bringing on one person, maybe Ohtani at the Dodgers, right? But it's more than one person. You have to have the synergy and the collaboration, and I'm not sure that the Mets have that yet. And I think it's absurd to pay somebody $765 million, especially over 15 years, especially for a guy who they were talking about making a DH. But hey, you know what? Good for him.
Hey, more power to him. He built up his brand, he built up his market, and somebody saw value in it, and they grabbed him. So real quick, so we can say we heard it here first. Who wins the World Series in 2025?
Oh. I'm going to go. I was drafted by the Atlanta Braves. I was also drafted by the New York Yankees after 1 year of junior college, where I skipped over talking about. So I'm going to go with the New York Yankees win it this year.
I hope you're right. They just got freed. That's a great signing. They got a couple more that are coming. So, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. New York Yankees 2025 World Series champions. We'll see what happens. So you could check out Damon at Damon.Lembi, Lembi at learnit.com. You can also check out his company, learnit.com. Check him out on YouTube, his podcast, which I will be a guest on in the next
100%.
Whatever time, but I you've heard that here too. And if you have any questions, check him out on Learnit. Search for him on Google. Lembi is his last name, first name Damon. And again, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate the support, and I can't wait to be on your show.
Jason, it's been awesome. Can't wait to have you on my show as well.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, CC and team. Thanks for the Going Bold Network and New Streaming Network.com, home of Going Bold, Going Solo, and the Going Solo Radio Network. This is probably our last show for 2024, and we look forward to a very successful, happy, prosperous, and healthy 2025. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.